This is George Dionne of the Rock is George podcast, and this is a KNAC.com exclusive interview with bassist Joey Vera of the heavy metal act Armored Saint. If I knew absolutely nothing about Armored Saint, how would you describe the band's music to me?
That's a very good question. I think it depends. For the uninitiated, I would say your first impression might be. I mean, we're a heavy metal band, so that's going to state something right off the bat. For the uninitiated, you might say that our influences drew from, which I think is obvious in the beginning, is kind of still is now, is bands like Judas Priest, Scorpions, the UFO, Thin Lizzy, bands like that. And then a little bit later, some new wave of British heavy metal, such as Motorhead and Saxon, Iron Maiden, things like that. But, we've put our toes in the water of different things along the way as well. There's elements of, funk rock or Foo Fighters, kind of hard rock. So it would be, it's no real, there's no one size fits all answer for that. Um, that's pretty hard to answer, actually. It's impossible to really put in a niche where we would belong in one place, which we don't really belong in one place.
Armored Saint's going to be heading out with QUEENSRÿCHE for the Origins tour. It starts March 27th. You guys are also going to be doing some headlining shows along the way. But let's talk a little bit about QUEENSRÿCHE. How far does Armored Saint and QUEENSRYCHE's relationship go?
Well, it goes pretty far. I mean, I've known the guys in the band for a while. I'm not even sure where we first met, but I've known them since the early days. I mean, I remember when I was in the late 80s, mid to late 80s, I had this side gig as a writer for Circus Magazine. I had this little bass column in the back of the magazine, and I got to basically do stories on all my favorite bass players and up and coming guys and that kind of thing. And I did, it might have been one of the first times I met Eddie Jackson, was I did a story on Eddie because I liked QUEENSRYCHE and I was a fan, and we were contemporaries around the same age and coming up at the same time. So I did an interview with him when they came into town. It's probably like 86, I'm gonna say 87. And then since then, we just kind of hit it off and kept in touch, Eddie and I. And anytime we would roll into Seattle, some of the guys would come down to the shows or vice versa. So the friendship goes back that way, but we didn't get to do any touring with them until a bit later. We did some shows with them in Europe. I'm going to say it was around 2015 or 16. And we did a few shows with them in Europe. And then that kind of bled over into the States. We did some dates here with them in 17. And that was a longer tour, that one in 17 in the US. So we've done two different tours with them in the past. And both times it's been just, I don't know. I don't know if it's the West Coast thing or, we just really all get along. We're all super chill people. And yeah, it's always a blast touring with them. I consider them friends, really good friends. So it's always fun when you get to tour with your friends.
QUEENSRYCHE starting the tour a couple dates than you guys. You guys are jumping on March 27th at the House of Blues in Anaheim. It's good to kind of start the tour sort of in your hometown, just outside of
Yeah,
LA, right?
yeah. Anaheim's a suburb of LA City. Um, Technically, it's another. It's in Orange County, so it's a different county, but it's Los Angeles. It's about an hour outside of, let's say, LA city center. Um, so it's always good playing down there. We played there with Wasp, different venue, but we played in Anaheim with Wasp back in 21. Sorry, 20, yeah, 21. And so that was it's always great playing down there. We have a lot of fans in that part of the state, and yeah, so we're looking forward to it.
Are there any other stops along the way that you're looking forward to in particular, either show wise or scenery wise?
Well, I haven't been to Montreal in a while, so we're playing Montreal, so that's going to be really cool. I always love being there. It's a cool city. It's been quite a while since I've been there, but so I'm looking forward to going to Montreal. And then, there's a string of dates we're doing in Florida, which should be cool. We don't always go to tour down in Florida. Um, for whatever reason, our tours seem to bypass Florida. So we're doing good, 3 or 4 shows down there, which is good. Um, and then, the usual suspects are always good. The Midwest, Cleveland's always great, and we're playing just outside Philly, which is amazing. Also outside the New York area, playing at the Paramount in Long Island. That's always a great place. Um, so yeah, there's looking forward to all of it. It's a bit long for us. It's almost 7 weeks, this tour. Um, and we haven't really embarked on this, dare I say, ever. Yeah, it only took us to, I'm 60 years old now. So we had to wait till I'm turned 60 to do this really long tour. Great, thank you. No, we're looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
So Queensryche is playing their first EP and their first album, The Warning, in full. What can we expect in your set list?
Well, we're going to do some new songs from our new record, from our last record, Punch in the Sky. We didn't get to play that many new songs from that record on the Wasp tour. We were we built it up with older stuff, but so we're through in a couple of songs that we didn't play on the last tour with Wasp, and we also have this rotating side list of songs that we rotate out almost daily, um, and we call it the audible list because we'll just make a call on the night of the show. Hey, let's play this song and throw it in here, and we'll figure it out. The headline shows are going to be fun because we're doing, our set is obviously longer on the headline shows because it's just us playing. So we're able to put in even more songs from Punch in the Sky and also some deeper cuts from the regular catalog. Um, we get, you probably hear it a million times, but when a band has a long career, you really get kind of tired of playing the same songs every tour. And there's a lot of songs to play, and I know that people want to hear the popular songs, but for us as the players, like it has to be fun and interesting for us too. So we try to strike a balance of doing that. But with the headline shows, we have a bit more wiggle room to put in some really deep cuts as well as playing the classics as well. So yeah, it's going to be fun.
Along the way, are you doing these upgrades in both the US tour and the European tour, where you're doing some meet and greets and people are going to get some nice swag to go along with that? That's sort of the nature of the beast in touring today versus when you guys were starting out, where something meet and greets hardly ever happened.
Yeah, it was not a thing at all back in the day. But it's kind of become a necessity to help help the bottom line, as it were. We were really reluctant to do it a few years ago, but we were convinced by our agent to do it. So we did it, and we found that the people that come, they really appreciate it. I mean, it's like, you get to have one-on-one time. We don't, our particular meet and greets are not like the sort of step and repeat that you see sometimes from the ginormous bands, where it's just like a cattle row of people and step, repeat, we, we usually cap our things around whatever 15 people or so, and we actually spend time with everybody and hang out, shoot the shit. People want to take pictures. People want to get bring stuff to sign, um, ask us questions. I mean, we just hang out, and it's been a really, it's been pretty rewarding in the sense of like getting to know your fans better, you know, because you get this whole cross of people that you would never in a normal situation meet. As a musician, you wouldn't get to see all of them in one room at one time. So it's been a really pretty eye-opening thing for us, and we really appreciate it. And I think the fans really appreciate it too.
Armored Saint recently played the Monsters of Rock cruise on March 2nd through the 7th. How did that go?
It was awesome. We played the first day. We loaded up and the boat sailed on Saturday, and we played that evening at 6 o'clock. And that show was awesome. We played inside theater, kind of a small theater thing, and it was packed, and the crowd was so loud, singing all the words. It was pretty. We were pretty blown away, actually. It was so good. Um, so the trip was great. We did a lot of interviews and did some photo ops with a bunch of fans and a bunch of different things. Of course, it's almost the same thing, like walking around a giant nightclub with rock fans, metal fans, and eventually you run into so many people, a lot of people a lot of people you've met before, and then tons of people that you've never met, from all over the world too, because people were there from Portugal, South America, Europe, Japan, like Australia, all over the place, Canada. I mean, people came from all over to go to this thing. The only bummer for us was that we were scheduled to play on the last night on Wednesday, and just as we're getting Winger just finished their set on the stage we were playing. It was outdoors, and as we were setting up, of course, luck would have it, this incredible storm starts to come in, rain, and then lightning. And once the lightning starts up, and you're on the seas, yeah, and you're outdoors, yeah. So we waited around as long as possible, but after like half an hour of waiting, the storm was just getting worse. So we got canceled. So that was a bummer. Um, it was really just like pissing rain. It wasn't letting up. And, you know, what are you going to do? We tried to move it to another venue indoors, but by that time it was too little too late because it was the last day and we were at the end of the night. It was like 10 o'clock at night on the last day. So the crew had already started wrapping up the other venues. So by the time we got the calls down there, sorry, there's no PA set up, but we just took it down, stuff like that. So we tried, but couldn't make it happen. So that was a bit of a bummer. We wanted to play one more time, and yeah, what are you gonna do? But it was a good overall. It's always a good experience.
After your US run with Queensryche and your little headline tour that you're sneaking in between it, you guys are heading over to Europe for the summer. You haven't toured
Yeah,
since 2019, from what I understand. You're going to be hitting the festival circuit as well as some clubs, and you're actually hitting
yeah,
Romania for the first time.
that's right. Never played Romania, so that's gonna be great. And we're also doing headline dates in between those festivals as well. Um, and we're doing something like 5 shows in the UK, which is something we've never done. We played London a bunch of times, and one time we did Birmingham, but we've never done this is almost like a UK tour in a way. So that's in there as well. Headline shows too for us, so we'll get to bring the headline set there. And the festivals are always fun too. Looking forward some new ones we haven't done, and then some of the usual suspects like Vakken, and Brutal Assault. So yeah, it should be good.
Even though you go to as a band to play these festivals and it's kind of a bit of work, I would imagine that you're also a fan of a lot of the bands that are on these festivals with you guys.
Yeah, it depends on the festival, kind of. Um, sometimes, you know, it's funny you bring that up. It made me think about it. I actually don't know who's playing on any of the festivals we're playing. Um, my focus has been so, there's other things going on. I feel like the Europe thing is like so far away, even though it's actually not that far away. Um, but we had a lot of hiccups getting this Queensryche tour um, rolling on our end. There's nothing to do with Queensryche, but we had problems with our bus company a couple of times. So um, Focus was always trying to making sure all those ducks were in a row for the Queensryche tour. Plus, we did some recording in January with a new single that's coming out in June. It's just a standalone single, going to be available digital only. So it's been super busy with other things, but you bring up a good point. I should look and see what festivals we're playing and who else is playing. Because yeah, you're right. A lot of times I have friends that are playing in other bands and other at some of these festivals. So I don't even know yet.
You're not the first guy that I asked that, and they're like, I don't
Yeah,
know who's there.
yeah, yeah.
You mentioned a new standalone single that's going to be released digitally. After all this touring, could we expect a new album by Armored Saint?
Yeah, we're in the middle of writing, so I would say we're, I don't know, 7 songs in, and we have, you know, we've been writing in between all this other stuff and trying to get that done. So we are working towards a new record, ideally sometime in 25 is realistic. So we're still forging forward, and the writing is always going forward. So we shall see how that progresses. The touring thing kind of takes us away from it. It's hard for us to continue to write when we're touring, but you never know. Maybe we'll make use of our downtime because we will have a lot of
So
it.
back in 2018, you guys, Armored Saint, did the Symbol of Salvation tour. I got the live album back there. I actually saw the show when you were in Boston. Uh,
Cool.
do you think there's another album in the Armored Saint catalog that's kind of worthy of playing in its entirety at some point?
Huh, good question. Um, I don't know. I think we'd have to maybe take a poll from the fans and see what they say. I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, maybe the first record, March of the Saint, might be fun because there's a lot of songs on that record that fans anyway are familiar with. Um, that might be a fun thing to do, even though there's a few songs on that are pretty deep cuts, and I don't know that. Well, we have played them live, but not in like 40 years. But I don't know. That might be one that might be fun.
Yeah, I was actually going to mention that one because it's
Yeah.
the 40th anniversary of March of the Saint. I mean, I read that not everybody was particularly happy with the production on that one, but I think if you look back at it over time, it's actually a pretty solid album.
Yeah, again, it was a kind of a time and place situation, and it was the 80s, and it was our first record with a major label, and lots of money was being spent, and I think that we even thought at the time that it was sucking a little bit of life out of it, but some of the grit was being polished too much, should we say? But the songs were what we were where we were at the time, and there's some solid songs on it. I think our problem with the production was something that just came out of you know not really knowing what we were doing and how to maintain control of it because we were so young. I mean, we were 21 when that record was made, and you know, we were having a lot of fingers were in our pot, having an influence on us. Management, several people at the record label, the producer, management, you know, so it was like all these things. Um, so, you know, you learn those things in time, and you learn if you have a vision, you learn later how to maneuver to get to that vision. So there was part of a growing pain thing we had to go through with March of the Saint, but you know, it 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 came out great, you know, it did.
Before I let you go, you're also the bass player of Fate's Warning, and I wanted to ask if we've heard the last of Fate's Warning. It seems like everybody in the band is doing something else. You're obviously busy with Armored Saint, and Jim Mathios and Ray are doing outside projects, and even Michael Abdow is doing another project. So have we heard the last of Fate's Warning?
I don't know. I hope not. Um, we've had some discussions about it, and all I can tell you is that uh, um, some of us want to do something. So it's not a collective. It's not a collective like it's over. And yeah, that's really where we're at. I mean, I think you know, even if we don't make more music, new music, I should say, I would love to see the band go out and do some touring, and I think the fans would really appreciate that as well.
I think you're right. Those are all the questions I have for you today, Joey. Armored Saints heading out on the road with QUEENSRÿCHE starting on March 27th, the Origins tour. You guys are doing your own headlining tour in between those dates, and then you head over to Europe in the summer. I'm glad that you took the time to speak with KNAC.com to tell us all about it.
Thank you so much for having me. Always appreciated. KNAC rocks.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for being a supporter, and I'll see you out there in Worcester. I already got my tickets.
See you in Worcester. Sounds great.